Welcome to the Remodelers on the Rise show. I am your host with the most. I wonder if we went through all of the recordings, how often I've said that. Maybe a handful. Host with the most. And I have a special guest. His name is Peter Ranney. Peter, say hello to the people.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, get excited,
Good
folks,
morning.
because it is a good morning. It's a wonderful morning, actually. We're opening up some spots in some of our remodelers peer groups this morning. It's been a very exciting morning. A good number of signups have kind of flowed in, and I'm going to introduce Peter and let him kind of introduce himself as the podcast goes on today and tell his story and a little bit, but to kind of also announce part of the reason he's here is after 16 years of doing all of the coaching on my shoulders, just all of the weight of this entire industry on my shoulders here at Remodelers on the Rise, we're going to start to share some of that weight. And I do say that I've had some guest instructors, I've had some people do some trainings, so I don't have all of the weight, but 98% of it. But there's a third peer group that we're going to be starting up in January, and I will not be running it. Peter will be running it. Aren't you excited, Peter?
Well, they're excited, and I'll be standing on your shoulder. So thanks for the hard work on being a coach and building a really great culture, and especially the remodelers community, the companies. There's just like a really good energy happening there.
Yes, and you're gonna keep it going. You know, like all like if you have project managers, let's say in a remodeling business, each project manager brings a little different flavor to the table, brings a different personality, some expertise to the table. Now, there's still the core of what they do. There's the culture of the business and the core of what they do, but different project managers will approach it a little bit differently, and that's how I kind of expect the coaching side to be. Peter's humor will not be as funny as mine. That's pretty much a guarantee. Looks wise, we're both kind of bald, so that's similar. But Peter's going to have his unique experience and unique flair, if you will, to his group, and we're excited about that. What I wanted to do in this podcast is introduce a little bit and unpack what these remodelers peer groups are about, and then have Peter share a bit. So if I'm talking to you, my wonderful listener, as a remodeler, what would it be like to be in close relationship with 10 remodeling business owners from around the country? What if you had a group that would help you recharge and reflect on how things are going, that would help you grow in various aspects of your business and frankly, your life? What would it be like to have all of these questions that you're stuck on, that you're struggling with, and really get hard fought answers and hard fought experience that can be shared with you? What would it be like if you were able to talk about your struggles, where you're not going to be judged, but you'll actually be understood, and you'll be in a room with other remodelers who are looking to grow and that are also kind and wanting to help? What would it look like if you were in a place where you would not only help out on the business side, but be inspired in areas outside of your life to make sure that we are not putting all of our success related to dollars and cents, but really about how we integrate our work and our life and everything else that we have going? Wouldn't it be valuable to have that? And some of you might be nodding your head. In these groups, you might kind of hear things like, here's what we did last time we were in your situation, or here's the process that we developed for that, use it. Or, hey, I know exactly what you're going through. You are not alone. I've been through that same thing. Give me a call later today, later in the week, if you're having still a crappy time, and I'll talk through it with you. There's so many good things that can happen from peer groups. There was 2 that I started at the beginning of January 2024. One of the groups had 10 companies in it. One of the groups had 8 companies in it. 17 of the 18 companies said, we ain't going anywhere. We're going to continue on this upcoming year. The one person that is not, she is doing one-on-one coaching specifically with somebody local to her. So she's still getting coaching, but the 17 out of 18 kind of speak to how the year went and how the relationships built and the value they were seeing and the growth that they were seeing in areas like finance and marketing and sales process and leadership. So that's what these peer groups are about, is really being a place to be a remodeler on the rise. Peter, you came down to Charlotte for the one of our groups. They had their in-person 2.5-day retreat down there. Talk to us about kind of what did you kind of witness? What did you see? What did you experience while you participated in it?
The first thing I noticed was like the personal connection that they had with each other. They knew, each other's kids' names and like really kind of details about their personal life that you kind of really don't think about. It's like business, and all this stuff is so intertwined as you start unpacking. There's a lot of husband, wives, and siblings. There's kind of two-headed leadership, which I'm a part of in my company. I'm a business partner, so there's so much that gets unpacked of like the personal psychology. And especially in leadership, you kind of feel like you're on an island. Even if you have a partner, you're on an island because you're, have disagreements or whatever it looks like with them. So just really having people who they just understood each other, like they liked each other, right? They all got along.
Yeah,
it's really fun to see.
Yeah, it was neat. This being the second in person that they were part of the Remodelers peer groups. There's a spring in person retreat, and then there's a fall in person retreat. In addition, every month that we don't have the retreat, we're meeting for a couple hours via Zoom. Also, as part of it, there's a quarterly one-on-one coaching call with your coach and leader in your group. And this being the second in person for this group in Charlotte, you could tell, you weren't there in the spring, but they're getting to know each other. They broke some bread together. They had dinner together. That group in particular may have also closed down a bar. I'm just saying.
Well, we did write on someone's wall at their office.
That is true. It was. You got to be part of the group to hear what's going on in the group, folks.
Exactly.
Yeah, actually, I'll have you tell them what the wall thing was here in a second. Right. But that second in person, relationships really do happen. These are people that really get to know how their businesses are going, get to know each other personally, and you could see like real friendships that's been developed over the course of the year is kind of what you saw there. Tell them why we were at the person's showroom and what you saw there. And then also, why did we end up writing on that wall?
Well, as most people experience when you have a party or an event at your house, your business, wherever, all of a sudden projects have to start happening.
Yes.
Right? New couch and this and but apparently one of the bathrooms, they ran short on wallpaper, like a roll or two or something.
Barely.
And so it became, I guess it wasn't, we would probably never have found out, but for, it just came up in casual conversation. Then of course, as contractors, we all took that and was like, oh, you didn't finish something? And so we went there, and then someone, I'm not sure who initiated it, but
I think Chris Howlett with Diamond Hill Builders. I'll call him out right here. He's the one that took the Sharpie, closed the women's bathroom door, might I add, and wrote a little love note on there.
So yeah, that little part of the wall that was still drywall compound looking stuff, and hey, let's just write on the wall. It was a fun thing. It really turned. It just, again, it's like that personal connection of like, it's just the way you are with your friends, right? You tease each other, you poke each other, you love each other, you give each other encouragement, and kind of maybe a tough word here and there. Is that's what they need, and it's the same. It's just all in that. It was like, yeah, let's have fun, and then they loved it. It's awesome. Right? We're not covering this at all.
Yeah, Gary and Ariel were our hosts with GJK Remodeling, and we kind of hid it from Ariel. We didn't really show it to her. And then Gary ended up showing her that night. And she goes, I am not covering that up. That was so wonderful. And luckily, none of my beloved peer group members wrote anything inappropriate in there. So it's all good. It's all good. Cool. So it gives you a little bit of a taste of that. And if I can share a little bit more of kind of what the groups end up talking about through the year, every group member submits their financials showing kind of their P&L and details for the last few years, which allows us to compare financials. We talk about pricing. We talk about job costing and grippage and slippage. We talk about just your overall business budget, looking at your overhead expenses, really dialing in your net profit to get it up. So people in our peer groups, they will increase their profits. We talk a lot about marketing, especially here in 2024. The conversation about marketing is happening more frequently in our industry. We need to make sure that we are being proactive with our marketing and with our marketing plan. And really, we covered several aspects that are working for remodelers this past week. To help them generate quality project leads. Talk about sales process, life, set goals, a lot around leadership. There's a couple people that needed to make some firings. There were a few people that need to make hires. So just a variety of leadership and sales and marketing and financials. We also this time around did a little exercise of the 14 areas of life. And that was quite eye-opening and some good takeaways for everybody through that. So that gives people a taste of what that looks like. If you go to remodelersontherise.com, you'll find your way to a link that has the peer group information. And depending on when you're listening to this, there may be a spot or two open, or you may go to the page and see a waiting list at the top. But rest assured, we will have another group starting if mine and Peter's groups are full. Cool. So that's all set. Peter, let's introduce you a little bit further. Why don't you give a little bit of kind of your backstory of how you got into remodeling and start there, and then tell us a little bit about what the business looks like these days.
Yeah, well, I got in remodeling. I went to school for accounting and thought remodeling wasn't really kind of a career for me. Worked with my dad growing up, general remodeler, very skilled tradesman, not necessarily real strong business acumen or anything like that. And it's just kind of like, well, there's no career here. So I went to Clemson, got an accounting degree. And as I described to other people, accounting is a really boring industry. It's great for some people if you like it. It was not for me. Quickly found that out. In 2012, my wife and I actually started a nonprofit doing room makeover for children with special needs. So it's a renovation-based concept company. And really through that, and to date, we've done almost 250 projects. We did about 20 a year. Which, if you look at the context of like any remodeler, doing larger projects, it's a lot of projects, especially at the nonprofit level.
Yeah, but I should have brought my sunshine on a rainy day hat that I received last week, but it's at home.
Yeah, so talk about like that's pronounced sunshine on a rainy day. Play on words, but as my English grandmother would say, our name is Ranney. Oh. So my wife came in, took my last name and changed the pronunciation, but I don't care.
Well, it's more you don't care, or from this moment forward, when I say, yeah, Peter Ranney is one of my Remodelers on the Rise coaches, you don't grimace every time.
You can only fight so many battles in your life.
Ranney.
And the biggest battle I fight in my life is I have a shortcut name. So Pete, and I hate being called Pete. But my wife calls me Pete. But you know what else my wife calls me? Okay, I guess we won't go there. But
we won't go there. So Ranney, I think I'm going to change it to Ranney though. Ranney, because I don't want to mess with Grandma.
No. Well, she, God rest her soul, she's gone. But okay. So sunshine on a rainy day, and anyway, so through that we started that nonprofit, and I was still working an accounting job, and I was being asked if I could do people's basement, kitchens, different projects. And I had a full-time job. Well, I knew construction. I didn't really know construction. I had no idea how to run a business of construction. And certainly at that point was trying to start a nonprofit. Had no idea what even running a nonprofit was even like or about. Met my business partner, Scott, playing softball. His wife is an amazing softball player. She played center field at a big D1 school here in Atlanta, Georgia Tech. And became friends with him, started Ranney Blair a couple years after the nonprofit. And just through the years, try to, as each business kind of grew, Sunshine kind of took a life of its own with the board of directors and all the help that we have with that. And Scott and I really were focused on growing. Ranney Blair got hooked up with Kyle, did some one-on-one coaching, did some group coaching.
And again, let me rephrase it. And then there was one glorious morning that I said, you know what? I've been listening to this guy's podcast. I think we're finally going to reach out to this Remodelers on the Rise outfit. And look at how it's been just transformed your business and life. I'm being dramatic, but
you're much more focused on marketing and sales. I think when I was
that is true.
researching kind of what you're doing as a business. And at that point, we had no sales process. I was a sales guy. Scott was a sales guy. We have different personalities, different approaches. We're asking different questions. We were taking different. It's like, what the heck? We got to get this process. And it's like, oh, this Kyle guy says he has a process. I have no idea. We'll figure it out. Find out. And then here we are, years later.
There we go.
But it kind of grew. Ranney Blair turned it into more of a design build concept. We have designers and estimators on staff now. Most recently, about a year ago, merged technically from the IRS tax code perspective. It's called a consolidation. We consolidated our business, Ranney Blair, with a local competitor here, Dan Weidmann, and now we're Ranney Blair Weidmann.
Do you want to use your law firm, Joe?
No, I feel like it's played
and folks,
out.
Even though it's called Ranney Blair Weidmann, did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah,
Ranney?
Weidmann. Yeah.
Weidmann. I was more the Ranney I was practicing. They're not a law firm. They are a wonderful design build remodeler. And yes, Peter and I did connect, a good number of years ago, 6-7 years ago. And one thing that I witnessed with Peter and Scott is the rate at which they implemented and improved is about as good, if not the best, of any of my clients. Taking ideas, working through them, implementing, testing, trying, improving. They have went from where they were to a thriving, larger design build company. It's been a lot of fun to watch. When I reached out to Peter a good number of months ago, and I just said, "Hey, I just wanted to float this out there. Here's kind of my intention with one of my groups. I was wondering if this might be of interest to you." The reason that he came up the top of the list to reach out to is from a culture standpoint, if you will, the Remodelers on the Rise culture. I care a lot about integrity and friendliness and kindness and empathy and yes, a little bit of humor mixed in. But Peter has been very generous over the years in sharing his wisdom, and I've gotten to know him through that, and couldn't be more excited to have him leading this upcoming group. How's business going these days, Peter? What are we experiencing these days?
Well, this year's been challenging. Yep. We didn't have a great backlog coming into this year. And it's that combined with merging two cultures, and really, more importantly, Scott and I get along great. We get along great. And Dan we all get along great. But Dan's a different person than Scott and I were. And so from a partnership, most people already kind of like, there's like a thing about partnerships, and I'm in a throuple or something. There's all these jokes at the end person, but it's like you got 3 people. He's a different person, views business differently, moves at a different rate, whereas we are much more like, let's just try and see. And our team is kind of accustomed to this. We're gonna implement, we're gonna improve, we're gonna iterate. It's just now there's 3 people. It's been a much busier the year than I anticipated. Yeah, kind of from a business perspective.
I've seen that and experienced that, where anytime two businesses combine, I think there's this fairy tale thought of this is going to be easy. Like, we get along great, like we agreed to this, but when you really start to integrate it, it causes a lot of challenges to overcome with how this business was run versus this business, how we approach the process in the field, how we approach the use of technology. So it sounds like you guys have been working through that kind of piece by piece.
That's good. Overall, it's good, right? It's good to challenge your assumptions. Why we do this? Why do we not do this? And what Dan brought to our company is like such a heightened level of the client experience, and kind of a viewpoint that I never even thought about, of like, how do we serve the client the best way possible, and give them like the fairest pricing, the best project management, the best design concepts. I mean, this whole thing. Just, he's a creative, so it's like, okay, we gotta tie down a little bit here. Let's get. It's been fun.
Awesome. So what is your peer group going to be like, Peter? How would you describe it to those listening? It may already be full. Go to remodelersontherise.com, see if it says waiting list, depending on when this gets published. But how do you intend to kind of run it, and what do you expect for it to be like?
Well, this is new for me, right? I'm not like a not a coach. I'm not a podcaster. I'm not
polished 16-year veteran.
Yeah, I'm not a polished 16-year veteran like Kyle. Like, I'm not a public speaker. like those are not natural things to me. I'm a remodeler first. I love learning, so I think hopefully the thing I saw at the in-person event was like there's a certain level of like how does the facilitator tee it up and then get out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a balance to that. But I think as a person who loves sports, like I think about identity and team. Like a team has to have an identity, right? We're a offensive team, we're a defensive team, whatever that looks like. So I'm trying to like shape kind of like what is the identity of the group that we want to be, and how we can help each other improve business. As a person who personally loves change, like I desire change, like I was describing at the event, like my wife and I sold our 5 acres. We live in more of like an urban area now. It's like completely different shift mindset, and it's not good or bad, but it's like I enjoy being around people who like to think about things differently and then love to put something into action. And it may not be the perfect plan. That's fine. Let's just do something, and then we can figure out whether that worked or not. But kind of, I'm hopeful that I don't know. The group is like way better than. No, I loved your group. Actually, I shouldn't say that.
I was gonna say it's. We joked about it before.
I did love your group. They were awesome.
Yeah, we did joke about it before, where Peter was like, my group's going to be the best Remodelers on the Rise group, and I was kind of like, good luck, buddy. And then having met that group, you're kind of like, whew,
they were good.
That's pretty good.
They were good. They're all very interactive. They all participated. So there's a certain level of that, but you don't know, like you're getting 10, 15, whatever number of people, there's 10, 12 companies, but there may be pluses as far, but like, you don't know. It's, I think that's me. The fun part is like, I don't want to go into preconceived notion of like, this is what it's going to be. Because I think overall people are there for each other. Like I'm happy to be facilitating and, pouring in where I think I can help. But like ultimately, like part of my job is just to kind of like a little bit get out of the way and just see how this thing unfolds. Let's learn this thing together.
Yeah, I've been a part of a couple of mastermind groups over the years, and it's amazing. It's amazing how many ideas, what kind of clarity can come from it. I got a text from several people from last week who were just like, it's just, that was the recharge I need. I think back, my other group met in Florida for their retreat in September. And, so much of the people around that table was, I needed that. I needed to just be refreshed, recharged. I feel like I can go back and really, I'm focused on these 3 things out of this meeting. I'm going to implement these 3 things, which are going to make a big impact. So there's just a lot of good that can come from that. And I think I have learned over the years that the more I do get out of the way and allow them time to do breakout groups and to talk, one-on-one with each other, or just 3 people over here, there's just tremendous value that can get from that. There's too many of you listening that are trying to do it on your own, that you feel the weight of that, and there's not anybody else in your life that you can really truly be transparent and honest with about how your business is going. And Remodelers Peer Group can do a really fine job of helping you with that. Peter, what else should we tell the people about you and or about this opportunity for them to join in one of our groups?
Well, certainly, if you've never been a part of a peer group, it's its own, like, how else, like you can't fluff your peers, right? You can't BS your peers. And so, like if you've never been part of a peer group, it's a great peer group, right? Kyle has put together, it's like such an amazing community. Because I am a part of other groups on Facebook. I've talked to other, this is unique. This is a little special. And so really getting that same kind of like-minded, like talk about like the empathy, the care, right? If I can't, like not me, but like if you think about if you can't diagnose the problem, you can't influence. And so like coming from people who really care and like from an empathy perspective and like-minded, right? And really helping, maybe it's an encouragement, right? Maybe it's a tough word, whatever it is, like maybe it's a practical advice of, hey, on this situation, like do this, or here's like a super specific spreadsheet that you can use. Maybe it's something different, more of just a thoughtful, like a, kind of one of those deep thought comments where it's like, oh, never thought about it like that. Maybe I should maybe change my viewpoint. But whether you're trying to grow or trying to stabilize your business, we all have some kind of business goals. Well, you don't have to take those on your own. Allow some peers to really help kind of steer and guide you through this process. Because I mean, I'm sure there's like a million books on how to run a remodeling company, and then you get in it and you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Maybe you're a skilled technician and you knew how to build stuff, and now it's like, how do I build a company? Or maybe it's the complete opposite. Maybe you're doing nothing about construction, but you know how to build a company. It's kind of like, how do you blend these things together and get something that you're happy, whatever your business goal is, right? Peer groups can help you achieve that.
Yeah, I like it. What were a couple notes? Because you were trying to take in how the facilitator worked. You were paying attention to that and whatnot. But I think you also took a bunch of notes related to Ranney, Blair, Weidmann as well. What were some of the takeaways that you had that you brought back with you?
Well, I got scrolled down through like my pages and pages. I mean, that was like the thing is like, well, I got to be there and I'm not part of this group, and it's awesome. It was like, I'm getting all these takeaways, like I'm literally like a fly on the wall. Like I get to do that. But one of the things that Logan talked about was Logan Contractor Growth Network. He gave a nice little workshop seminar. He hired a remodeling company. Didn't necessarily have the greatest experience. Overall, the outcome was fine. He liked the project. But one of the things he mentioned was on the weekend, the project is still a war zone for them. It's like as remodelers, we try to not work too much on the weekends, maybe. But even if it's like this idea of the clients are still living in it. So it's like this, the client experience, how do we serve the client? Just kind of like, oh, Friday I get to go home and, my perfectly nice house, and, the clients are still kind of out there. That's one of them.
Thinking through the client experience, a little more empathy towards that.
Oh, totally. One of the things actually was who was it? I think it was Zengel. They put together project binders. We have a hard push towards digital. Digital's great. But it's this idea of, I was actually at a church somewhere a couple months ago talking about like the new generation, which is, every generation has its own problems, but it's like you got to meet people where they are, kind of like meet young people where they are. Like, they're project managers have like the toughest job at our companies, like by far, right? They got to put everything together. So maybe we can meet them a little bit more where they are. Like they prefer a more tactile format, paper. So maybe we can put together a binder for them to, hey, you give me some daily logs and I'll give you some paper.
Ooh, and that's coming from somebody that's very much embracing technology. I like that.
Yeah. What else did I?
So, I've heard two things. One, empathy towards the client and understanding of the client experience, and then also thinking for your team, their best experience to set them up for success.
I'd be remiss to not mention the last thing, the elephant.
Ah, yes.
So Casa Keepers, which I love that business name. It's just like such a great, like if you feel something when you say that. But so at his sales calls, he brings a stuffed elephant. He's a big guy. Was he like 6'4"?
You're gonna make these groups sound weird by using this example.
You got to be comfortable with the uncomfortable if you want to enact anything to help, improve your business. And improving is hard, right? You go work out. It's like it hurts. It's hard. But Chad's a big guy, right? So he's big guy walking in. He has a stuffed elephant in his arm.
Hang on. You might be listening to this. He's by big. He's 6'3". He's also a chiseled specimen.
Chiseled.
Big guy being a 6'3" stud. Yeah. Yes. Now carry on.
So he brings a stuffed elephant, and it's kind of like, why is he doing that? But it's to this idea of addressing the elephants in the room. It's this opportunity to talk about things that may be hard for him, as us, as remodelers, and then for the clients, to talk. So that was, I'm not thinking I'm going to order a stuffed elephant right now off Amazon.
Although several people did.
Yeah. Again, it's like, hey, whatever works, if that's something that helps you. But it's like, hey, have a strategy in your sales meetings, right? Yep. What's the objective? I literally was at a sales thing earlier today, like an hour ago, and it was like, we aren't the right company for you. Like clearly it just doesn't fit. But it's like the elephant reminds you, hey, you can talk about elephants, but more importantly, have a cadence, a sequence, a process of how you go about talking about hard things with your prospects.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's actually been bringing that to sales appointments, and he's done dozens and dozens of them. A couple of their salespeople are using it, and it's just kind of a lighthearted way to talk about meaningful, serious things with your prospect and clients. So that was a good one. cool.
Yeah.
In addition to that, we talked marketing, we talked financials, we talked other leadership related stuff. So it was great. Peter, I'm very excited. While we were talking, I was seeing, I wonder if we didn't get anybody signing up while we were recording this, but his group's filling up. And if you're interested in potentially joining my group or Peter's group, we'll see if there's any spots available. When you go there, if you go to the show notes, there will be a direct link to where you can learn more about the Remodelers peer groups. Go to your show notes, click the link, bada bing, bada boom. Peter, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.